Hey everybody, my name is Gavin Hiers and I'm going to talk about some careers and jobs that are in the agriculture field. I know I'm going to start by showing this quick video, so if you would like to pause my video and follow the link to this video and show it to your class, please go ahead and do that now. So as you see in the video, there's a lot more to ag careers than just a farmer on a tractor, or somebody growing the vegetables that you eat, or somebody feeding the cows that become the hamburgers that you eat at McDonald's. But there's actually pillars that take place in the ag fields. Those right there. And we're actually going to talk about the far one on the far side, and we're going to talk about some of the careers that are in the agriculture field and how some of them tie into the economy, and which is that pillar again. That's the ones we're going to discuss, because to me, I feel like at any level of schooling, you should know how different jobs affect the money that goes in and the career options in that field. And as the video showed, and as I stated, there's more to being in the agriculture field than just being a farmer. The 7 types of agriculture careers that touched on this in the video, but you have ag business, ag mechanics, animal science, environmental services, food science, natural resources, and plant science. So with that being 7 career pathways underneath agriculture, you can imagine it is actually a very diverse field with a lot of options to carry out a job and actually make a career and earn a living throughout your life. First one we're going to discuss is ag business. So that's those selling, doing the bookkeeping and stuff with ag. Marketing, the advertising. So you actually will have the companies such as McDonald's who have people with an ag business degree trying to figure out how to market to the different populations that they are trying to reach out and sell to. I just have a picture of the cow here, and one good example of advertising that probably was done by an ag business major or somebody who has a good head in ag business is Chick-fil-A, because you see a dairy cow, even though they're not a beef cow, you immediately think Chick-fil-A. And that is through years and years of Chick-fil-A advertising with the dairy cow. But again, this pathway is the people who deal with some of the financing and advertising and basically the bookkeeping of the ag community. So the ranchers, they'll actually have the rancher who runs the ranch and then somebody who runs the books and makes sure all the finances and stuff are up to date. The people who manage some of the farms and other ag businesses will continue to use their degree, even though they're not necessarily in the ag field, even though they're in an office. Being able to understand the ag business is important to keeping their job rolling and keeping the business that they're working for moving in the right direction. Went the wrong way. And now it's ready. Okay, the next one is ag mechanics. A lot of people hear the term mechanic and it's the same thing kind of with a job in agriculture. They think of somebody just walking on the machine and fixing what is wrong with it, but it's actually a lot more than that. A lot of the jobs in ag mechanics is the people who do the daily grunt work. They walk on the tractors, they fix the electric fences, they dig the trenches for the irrigation systems, and that's probably some of your lower salaries. But you get on up into your upper salary and you're still in ag mechanics, because you have the people who have to run the GPS on the tractors. They have to program all of the systems in the irrigation who can test the soil, and the irrigation system automatically knows, hey, the soil's too dry, it needs the water today, without the farmer having to go out and manually pull soil samples every day to decide if his field needs to be watered. So the second bullet point actually touches on why that would be important, because it makes the farmer's job a lot smoother. Because if the people can come out and program the machines to work properly and build the machines in order to make their job easier, they'll be able to have more fields because they have to spend less time managing each field. And it's the same thing with tractors. And before they had the GPS set tractors, the farmers would have to sit in the tractor and they would have to manually keep the tractor straight. Now they have tractors who they can program the speed into, and they can program GPS points in so the tractor stays straight, stays at the right speed, and the fields get planted better and harvested better than what they have in the past. Then the other one, and this is another big one, inside of the ag field that a lot of people don't think is ag related. And it's animal science, because there's a lot of different animals, and it can tie in to livestock, but it can also tie into deer management or anything has to do with animals, which is why it's animal science. As you see here, it says there's over 500 different jobs for animal science, and a lot of them can be stuff that deals with livestock, which is most of what I have listed, as you can see. So people who create your feed, people who run the factories who actually process the meat and grow the chickens and stuff like that, that's actually considered animal science. So like your dairy foods, your eggs, the stuff that gets produced, mass produced at a local farm, the animal scientists who work there try to figure out the best conditions that can grow and produce the best quality product. And then you have environmental services. That's it really varies because each state has different environments. Like if you have a job in this field, you're not going to do the same thing in Georgia that you would do in, say, Kentucky or even California or even in Florida, because Florida has a lot more swamps than what Georgia has. But a lot of what they do is trying to figure out the safety and effectiveness of a product. Like say a company comes out with a new product to spray gardens or something like that with, the environmental sources would have to test that fertilizer or pesticide, whichever it was that was created, and make sure it has no harsh effect to the environment that's around it. Because spraying fertilizer, a salt fertilizer in Tifton might not have an impact, but you go down to South Florida in the Everglades and that fertilizer may cause an invasive species or even a native species to grow a lot better and take over and become a real nuisance. So even though it's not necessarily killing everything, it can still be a real problem. And that's what these guys do. They try to test everything and make sure everything is going to run good. It's not going to have any real side effects. I know a lot. You see, it says the seed. A lot of people don't think about seeds having to be tested, but in today's ag market, with the way seeds are developed, you can get corn seed that is more resistant to pest. You can get corn seed that grows a full corn cob, and even though it doesn't get as much rain. So yes, those seeds have to be tested, because if you plant one seed and it grows, and then you plant the next one and it doesn't, and you plant the next one and it grows but it's not edible, these people have to test that and make sure everything is safe for not only the consumer but also the environment that is around it. And then food science, and this one is probably my personal favorite, because let's be honest, who doesn't like to eat food? You see, it's got fruit mainly in the bowl, which the fruit you buy in the supermarket is going to be mass produced at an orchard or a vineyard, in the example of the grape. So they actually make sure it's safe, kind of like with the same people who did the environmental services. They have to test the food quality to make sure that it is up to human consumption. And it's not going to give anybody food poisoning, not going to make anybody real sick. They actually test, like it says, microbiology. So they get down and they actually test the food underneath microscopes and break down each individual concept of the food. If it was grown with GMOs or even naturally grown, they still have to make sure it's safe to consume. Like a lot of times in grocery stores, if they have sprayed pesticide on a crop at any point in time, they have to wait X amount of days before they can even harvest that crop to sell to the grocery store. And because the food science people have figured out that there is a lifespan of that pesticide that stays on that crop no matter how many times you wash it. So it actually has to sit out before they are allowed to sell it. And then natural resources, this is a lot of the people who go out in the field, they manage the national parks, some of the state parks. They make sure that water is still good in rivers and creeks flowing through. They keep up with lakes that are in the area. For Georgia, the median salary is $65,000. So it's a pretty important job to have, because people actually, like recreational use, you're going to go swim in the lakes, you're going to go hike the trails. They try to make sure that they're up to use and safe for humans to be around. And then plant science is another big one, because kind of the same with the animal science. these guys will make sure that the crops that are being grown correctly, not being produced too fast, not being sprayed with too many pesticides or too much fertilizer. They make sure that landscaping is good, because you don't want to put a house over a field of grass. The grass has to be cleared, otherwise the concrete slab is going to rot in a couple of years. So these guys actually come in before anything is done on a landscaping side and make sure the plants that are there can be removed safely. They make sure crops are grown safely. Floor designer, they know what flowers to grow certain times of the year, even in a greenhouse. Even though it's a protected environment, some crops grow better than others. So they actually can work with floor designers and make sure that the right stuff is being grown to produce the best quality product. And just in closing, we've touched on the 7 career pathways, and I hope y'all have learned that there is more to agriculture than just farming and driving a tractor around, because there is. It's a lot more. All of these pathways affect the economy, like I said at the beginning. So each job is actually impacting Georgia significantly and bring a lot of money into Georgia, because there's a bunch of people in the surrounding states that use some of Georgia's resources in their own state, because Georgia does do a lot of it very well. So take a moment now at the end and stop and think, which pathway do you think you would choose, and why would you choose it?